Okay, well, welcome everybody. My name is Dale Willis. I run a non-profit organization called My Great First Job. And today's presentation is about how to find a great work experience placement. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So let's just get that organized. And then we can just go through the presentation and hopefully I can give you some tips that are going to be super helpful to you on how to find a great work experience placement. So here we go. So My Great First Job is a non-profit organization that helps young people navigate their way from education to employment. So it might be people at the end of year 11. It may be people in the sixth form or at college. It could be people who've gone to university. But it's whenever young people are thinking, I'm leaving full-time education and I'm now going to be moving into employment of some sort. That's where a bulk of our work is done. Today's session is a really key thing about helping you to make that transition by getting some great work experience. I know that lots of young people in year 10 at school and year 12 in sixth form or year 1 at college have to find a work experience placement, and it can be super valuable. So, but also tricky, really difficult to find on your own. So I'm going to give you some great tips today here and show you some examples of what people have done so that you can use those examples, those skills that you're going to get, those ideas to see if you can come up with something for yourself. If at the end of this session you think you've got some value from it and you want to hook in with the rest of our content, I'll put this screen up again at the end, but you can follow My Great First Job on all of the social media platforms that are on here, and you can interact with us and see the content that we're sharing, which is all hopefully to help young people get to where they want to be. So today's session is how to find the work experience placement that you really want. Now, I know that there is a difference really in year and work experience from year 10 or to year 12 stroke year 1 of college, depending on your environment. So you're either sort of like 14, 15 or you're 16, 17. Now, I think if you're in year 10 and you're looking for work experience, then maybe that's really about just having the experience of going to work. For some people, they will already have a focus on what they'd like to do. But many of us at 14, 15 are thinking, you know, this is just a great opportunity to get out of an education environment and see what it's like going to work, turning up every day, having less breaks and having a longer day. It can be exhausting for it. But year 12 work experience or year 1 at college, that can be a different thing altogether. This becomes a much more focused opportunity to get some great content onto your UCAS personal statement if you're thinking about applying to university or higher education. And it can also be a great way for you to get some content onto your CV that's relevant for your apprenticeship applications. So let's just dive in and see what we've got. We're running a bunch of sessions, and all of these sessions are run through the year. So we're doing today work experience. Yesterday, we did a session for you guys on personal branding. We've also got sessions on a CV writing to come. And you can find on our website sessions on degree apprenticeships, how to smash your interview, how to set up a LinkedIn profile, what a cover letter is. So if you think that content could be valuable for you, just jump on our social media and hook in with us and you'll be able to access the stuff that we do. So let's just think, well, why do work experience? We've touched on it a little bit. Why do work experience? Well, the first thing for why do work experience for me, if I'm in year 10, is let's get out there and see what it's like gonna work. Let's not be too worried about exactly what we're going to be doing. I don't think some of you might have a lane that you've fallen in and you think, right, I want something in engineering. I want something in accountancy or in an office because I sort of think that's the direction I'm going in. But as I say, many of us are still quite a long way from figuring that out. So I think if you're in year 10 to go on work experience, it's about, what's it like to go to work? What's it like to turn up on time, to do a full day, to just have smaller breaks, to interact with different people all day? That can be a super valuable experience about us feeling more confident and giving us lots of opportunities to talk to adults that we don't know and who can give us some great advice and can really give us a sense of what's out there. If I'm in year 12, I think it's much more focused. We're looking at getting content on personal statements, content on CVs, but also an opportunity, maybe also an opportunity to find, what sort of engineering do I want to do? Is it electrical, or is it mechanical? What sort of accountancy or marketing or whatever do I want to do? So yeah, and of course you don't just have to do work experience when your school says, hey, it's work experience week, everybody's going out. You've got all those other days of the year that you're on holiday from school. There's no reason you can't go out and do some work experience in the Easter holiday, in the summer holiday. And it doesn't need to be a week's work experience. It can be a day. It can be 2 days. It can be, I'm going to do half a day every Friday because that's when I'm free. And I'm going to do that for a month. Any opportunity you get to get in that workplace and dig around and talk to people who are where you want to be, I think is a really, really valuable experience. I think one of the things that is worth thinking about is what's in it for the employer, because I just want you to understand really that there are not a ton of employers sat there waiting for your email, wondering what to do today. Times are pretty tough. So we've just come out of COVID. Guys, that has changed everything for a whole ton of employers. So you've got employers now who had everybody in the office and everybody was in before, and now people are working from home because people didn't work from home before. It wasn't a thing. It was maybe something a director or a manager might do occasionally. But everybody worked from home during COVID, and then afterwards was like, well, hang on, we're going to carry on doing this. This really works for us. So you've got employers out there where half their staff aren't in the office every day. So that makes it more difficult for them to manage, but also more difficult for you to get a work experience placement, because maybe if you're having to go out for a week, that office isn't even open, or there's only 2 people in it on a certain day. So I think that's important to know. Also, we're all aware as we're watching the news and catching information coming through our social media that the times are pretty tough for a lot of employers. The cost of living crisis, the energy crisis that we've just been through. They're trying to stay afloat. They're trying to stay afloat. Half their staff aren't in. They're really trying to be as busy as they can. And somebody they've never met has sent them an email saying, can I come and spend a week with you? Now, if I'm in a school, I'll sometimes be able to ask this question because I can see you. I can't see anybody here. And say, what do you think's in it for the employer? And occasionally somebody will say to me, I think what's in it is they can get some free labor. Do you know what? I haven't come across an employer that has got involved in work experience because they want some free labor. Because it's really hard work running an effective and productive work experience placement, because they want you to have a great time. Because when you leave that work at the end of the week, their brand is traveling with you. They don't want you going home and saying, oh, goodness me, it was awful, mum, or going and telling your friends it was awful, because that's not going to be great for them. So I think what you need to do to begin with is at least understand that there's not a lot in it for an employer. Now, why do I think that's important for you to understand? I think it's important for you to understand so that you don't think this is going to be easy. There are still a ton of employers out there that are going to help you, and there are still things in it for the employer. They can learn new things from you, particularly around the different way, the digital way of communication, and the use of social media. You can certainly, in many cases, help them with some ideas around that because you're using it all the while. But it's going to be tough, and I want you to remember. So, key things: lots of employers have got hybrid working, so their staff are at home. That makes it more difficult for you to find a placement. Lots of employers are struggling and working their way through that cost of living and staying afloat and keeping in business thing. That's going to make it more difficult. So you're going to need some good tools in your kit bag to be able to get this work experience sorted. That's what I'm going to show you today. There's a couple of things I think you just need to do before you get started. A bit like sort of writing an essay, plan it first a little bit so that you don't just dive in and think, oh, what am I going to write? And then halfway through think, oh, what have I done? So just some really key things. I think, first of all, where do you, and it's nobody else's work experience, where can you get to? Where can you get to? So are you somebody who thinks, well, I want to do my work experience. This is the town, or maybe even the village. This is where I live. I don't feel particularly confident about going outside of that area. So ideally, I want my work experience to be somewhere that I can get to super easily. I can either walk to, I can get a bus to, my parents can take me to, but wherever I live, that's where I want my work experience to be. Now, there may be some of you who think, well, actually, I want to get outside of that. I may want to go to the next big town, where in the big city that's near you, that feels like there's more different opportunities there. So you might want to be thinking, but how am I going to get there? Have I checked out? Have I got a relative that works there? Will I be going on the bus, on the train? How will I get from the train station to wherever it is? Maybe some of you even want to go to maybe into London to work, and thinking, right, yeah, I can do that. I can get the train into London, and then but just check out, where do you actually want to go, and where will you feel confident going to? And then I think the second thing to think about is these things here. So you've sorted out the location, but what about the size of the company? Are you somebody that thinks, I really thrive when there are lots of people around? I'm pretty confident with my communication skills. I'm confident talking to other people. I want to work in a really big company where there's a ton of people to talk to. I can get a ton of ideas. Or you may be somebody that thinks, you know what, I think I'm going to get more out of my work experience if it's a small company, because I'm going to get involved in more stuff. Big companies tend to be more departmentalized. Small companies, people do everything. I might think I want a small company because I just feel a little bit less confident, and just meeting 4 new people in a small company is going to be a deal for me. I don't want to be meeting 44 or 404. So think about the size of the company, and then think about what the industry sector is going to be. So if you're looking at going into marketing, are you looking at going into a marketing company, so a company that does marketing on behalf of businesses? Or are you like an agency, or are you looking at going into the marketing department of a specific company? So just have a little conversation with yourself, whether you then just record that in your phone, just put it in your notes, or have a notebook that you're going to put your stuff down and think, right, this is going to be my anchor that I'm going to come back to. Every time I get stuck trying to find work experience, remind myself what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a placement within 5 miles of where I live in this town doing this, and that can be helpful to come back to. And then also think about, particularly, I think, if you're in year 12 or year 1 at college, then think about, what do I want to be different at the end of the week? I think if you're in year 10, just go out and have some fun and meet some people and all of those brand new experiences. If you're in year 12 or year 1 at college, maybe it's around, what do I want to be different? At the end of this week, I want to have a network of people. I want to understand more about this particular topic. I want to have decided whether that's something I want to be going to university to be able to do, or getting an apprenticeship to be able to do. So what do you want to achieve? And that's going to be important, because the employer will want to know that as well. They want it to be successful for you, but that's incumbent on you to take the time to actually think, well, what makes it a success for me? Not just having, I had a nice time and the people were nice, but much more than that. What would make it a great experience for me? And I really think, big guys, if you possibly can, think about, well, that would be amazing to go there. That would be a great project. I've seen that. If I want to work in construction, I've seen that this big construction project that's going on. That looks like an amazing building. I'd love to be involved in that somehow. So don't limit yourself within that. Think about what would be amazing to do, and go for it, and see if you can get a work experience attached to that. Right, so we've done a bit of planning. We've thought about what we want. We thought about where we can get to. We thought about what we want to achieve. And those things are super important, because now we're going to go out and get it. Okay, let's look at how we're going to do that. So the very, very first thing I would do if I was looking for work experience is I would have a conversation with my parents or my carers, the people that I'm living with. I would have a conversation with those people. Now, that doesn't happen automatically, and I know that. I want to talk to you about this young man here. So a young man here called Daniel, and I run this webinar as an open webinar. And so there's people on it, 200 to 300 people on it from all across the country. I can't see, just like you, I couldn't see any of them. And I finished the webinar and I got some nice feedback, and that was that. Now, the following day, on a platform called LinkedIn, which is a social media platform for businesses, a bit like Facebook for business. And on the following day on LinkedIn, I saw that I'd been tagged in a post by somebody I didn't know, which was Daniel, saying that he was on a session last night on how to find a work experience placement. It was really good, and he tagged me in it saying thanks for running the session, which was really great. So I messaged him back and said, that's really kind of you to have tagged me in and for sharing the information. Thank you so much for doing that. If you've got the time, I'd love to know how you get on finding a work experience placement. He messaged me straight back and he said, oh, I've already got it. I came on your webinar last night and I've now got my work experience placement sorted. I was like, well, that was really quick. And I said to him, well, and actually it was 2 days later, not the next day, 2 days later. And I said to him, well, would you mind jumping on a Zoom call with me so we can just have a conversation about which of the amazing tips I shared with you was the one that you used? And he was like, yeah, of course I can. So we jumped on a Zoom call and we were chatting and I said, so tell me about finding a work experience placement. And he said, right, we were asked by the school just before Christmas in year 12 to find a work experience placement. And he said, but mocks were in January and we were told they were super important. So he said, I sort of concentrated on my mocks. I then sent out a couple of letters to, a couple of emails to banks. I think it was Santander and HSBC. He said, I heard nothing back. So I sort of thought, oh, well, I'll do, I left it. The school shared that you were doing this webinar. I jumped on it. And at the end of the webinar, I did the first thing you said. I went down and told my mum. Now, I said to him, had you not told your mum before? And he said, well, my mum had an email from school, but we hadn't really done anything about it. We'd not had a conversation. He said, I was trying to sort it myself. So no, I hadn't really done anything with my mum. He said, I told my mum I was looking for a work experience placement in finance. And he said, I hadn't told my mum before because my mum is a nurse. And so I know she doesn't, do finance. And nobody, none of my parents and friends that I've met have said, oh, I'm an accountant. So I just thought she didn't know any accountants. So and he said he also thought it would be better if he sorted it himself. He thought it would look better if he sorted it himself. So anyway, he told his mum that evening. His mum went to work the next day, emailed, her mum's a nurse, his mum's a nurse. She emailed the head of finance at the NHS Trust that she worked for and said, hey, my name's blah, blah, blah. I'm a nurse in this hospital and my son's looking for work experience in finance. Who do I need to contact in the hospital to see if there's any opportunity? And the head of finance at the NHS Trust said, you don't need to contact anybody. I'll do it. I will take your son on work experience. Guys, it was as simple as that. So all that happened 22 hours after the webinar had been run, he'd been waiting. This was about 4 months after the school had asked him to find a placement. 22 hours after he came on the webinar, his mum had sorted the placement for him. So the number one thing I would do is I would make sure I have a conversation with my parents to say, or my carers, to be able to say, I need a work experience placement. This is when I need to go. This is what I'd like it to be in. Can we work on this together? Because listen, you are 16, 17, many of you, and you're being asked to do all the heavy lifting on this. You don't know people, and let's be frank, you don't email people either. Most of you won't have sent an email outside of your school to your teachers to anybody else probably this year. So some of you will, but most of you won't. So you're being asked to communicate in a way that you don't usually do, and to communicate to people that you don't know because you've never heard of them, because you're 17. How are you going to know these people? So use your parents to do that. Now, how are you going to do that? So one way, we just showed you how Daniel's mum emailed her boss and said, and he got that sorted. But Facebook is a really, really great way of doing it. Now, I know you're not going to be on Facebook because I know you're on other social media platforms, but that's fine because work experience placements aren't on TikTok lining up on your connections either. But your parents are often on Facebook and your relatives are on Facebook. And it's an adult space more right now. And it's the adults that have got the work experience placements. So ask your parents, if they say, I don't know what to do, ask your parents to put a Facebook post up. Now, this is just a mock-up of a post. Hey, everybody. Dylan is looking to find out more about working in accountancy. You know, it's a bit chatty. I know. How he's even old enough, but it seems he really is 17. I wondered if anybody in my network might know somebody he could talk to. Be great if he could spend a few days in July shadowing and getting some work experience before his university application gets rolling. Can any of you suggest any people he can contact or help him get the ball rolling? So you put that on there, and then your parents, all the people that your parents are connected with, are going to be able to see that. Some will share it automatically, but they're connected with you. They're connected to your mum emotionally or your dad emotionally, and that means that there's more like that they're going to help you. Now, I gave this presentation in a school in the Midlands, just near Milton Keynes, and I went back the following week to do another talk. And at the end of it, I said, look, if anybody's got any questions, just come to the back of the room afterwards as I'm packing up and come and ask me. There was a small queue of people, and at the front was a young lady called Hannah. And she introduced herself, and I said, Hannah, what can I help you with? And she said, oh, you can't help me with anything. I just wanted to say thank you, because last week you were here and suggested my parents put a Facebook post up to get work experience. And now they did that. And now I'm off to an investment bank overlooking the Shard in central London. I said, that's amazing. Tell me all about it. And here we go. The dog finds work experience. She explained that her mum had put a post on Facebook. Her mum had put a post on Facebook saying that she was looking for work experience in an investment bank. Could anybody help? And a lady that she's connected to on Facebook said, and I'll show you the message she sent back in a second, and got it fixed up for her. So I said, well, how did your mum know that lady? Was it a really close connection? How was it? She said, no, not at all. She said, my mum knows that lady because our dogs are friends. I was like, explain it more. She said, my mum takes the dog for a walk every morning. We go to a field, the dog runs around. There is the dog, nice dog, lovely dog. So dog's running around the field. There's another dog in the field that it runs around with. The two ladies who dog walk in the morning connected some time ago on Facebook, and that's the connection. So when she saw it, she said, this lady sent her a message back and said, oh, I've seen your post. So James, boss, head of HR, is happy in principle for work experience, and I've just blacked the company out. If Hannah would like to, James says the next step is an email request explaining what Hannah needs, is looking for from work experience. Do you remember I said, be clear about what you want to achieve? There's a bit there. The experience will mainly be in the sustainability team, but it will make sure she spends time in other departments across the business for the week. Amazing. The only reason that girl got work experience there was because her mum is connected to somebody on Facebook because their two dogs know each other. That's it. So it doesn't have to be, as Daniel said, my mum doesn't know any accountants because I've never met any. Well, first of all, your mum might know some. But secondly is, what you don't know is what all their partners, their children, all the connections have got, partners, children, other relatives that may be able to help. And so Hannah sent me a picture of her on her work experience in the summer. There's the Shard in the background. She's at an investment bank, because that dog was friends with another dog, and then the two people joined on Facebook, and her mum put a post up. So putting a post up on social media on your parents' site is super helpful. Now, I mentioned earlier about LinkedIn. So if any of your parents are, and I'm sure many of them will be, are on LinkedIn, then LinkedIn is a great thing. It's like Facebook, but just for business. Now, the great thing I think about LinkedIn is it's often going to be different connections, because my Facebook account is full of people who are friends, relatives, people I come across in the more social side of my world. My LinkedIn account is much more focused on people I come across in my business and my work. So there's not a huge overlap between them. Some overlap, but not a huge overlap. So this is a different audience. Now, what's great about LinkedIn, if your parents are on LinkedIn, is that they can tag in the companies that you want to work for. So you can see down here, I'm trying to find a work experience for a lad who wanted to do renewable energy. Do any of you work in, and just about halfway down, do any of you work in or have contact in green energy companies like Ecotricity, Good Energy, Octopus Electric Vehicles, or Tonic Energy? So this lad had told me some of the companies he really wanted to work at, and we tagged those companies in the post. That means that those companies will see that post. Somebody at that company will see that post and can start to act on it if they'd like to. 2 weeks later, I was able to put this post up. A couple of weeks ago, I posted about this lad looking for a green renewable energy, and then tagged in, look, Octopus Electric Vehicles, Viola, Sonnen Batteries, Mitsubishi Electric. All of those people who I didn't know, I knew the guy at Viola, but only because he said to me, Dale, you got me a job 20 years ago. I wouldn't have known he worked there. So all of those people got in touch with me and said, yeah, we'll do something. We'll help him. So LinkedIn is a great space because you can tag in companies and people can share it as well. So if your parents are on LinkedIn, it's going to be a different audience to their Facebook. It's going to be a more work-focused audience. Get using that as well. Let's go back to Facebook just for a moment, because there are a whole ton of local community groups on Facebook. Now, these are the ones that I live in Northampton. So these are the ones that are sort of close to me: Spotted Duston, Abington Neighbourhood, Grange Park Community. You'll be familiar with ones around you. And if you're not, your parents will be. Listen, they're interesting places. They can be pretty toxic if you've parked on the corner somewhere, or if your dogs run around in a field somewhere. They can be pretty toxic places, but they're great places for you to find a work experience placement. Now, if you've got a Facebook account, even if you don't use it, you opened it up as sort of a rite of passage when you were 13, that's fine, 14 maybe. You can use it. So you can join your local groups. Your parents can tell you which ones they are, and then you can put a post in. I'll show you a post in a moment. Tell a story. Hey, my name's Dale. I'm looking for a work experience. I go here. I live here. Make sure you connect into that community. Now, let's say, for example, I live in Duston, on the top right-hand corner, Spotted Duston, and I post in Grange Park Community and say, hey, everybody, I live in Duston. At that moment, I'm not going to get anything because I'm not in that community. But if I post in Grange Park Community saying, hey, everybody, I live in Grange Park and I'm at school at this school, I'm 17 years old, I'm hoping to develop a career as a blah, blah, blah. I wondered if there are any, let's say lawyers. I wonder if there are any lawyers who live, are part of this community group that I might be able to have a conversation with a view to maybe getting some work experience. People will help you because for no other reason than you live in their community. It doesn't work outside of their community. It works because there is an emotional connection, because, oh, I can help somebody from my community. Take a look. Hey, everybody, this is in Spotted Duston. I'm in year 12 and have to complete 30 hours work experience at the end of this academic year. I'm looking to go into accounting after my A-levels. So anything that relates to that, help me with my future career applications. Straight away, hey, I'm a local bookkeeper, so you may have some work you could support. PM me your number and I'll call you. People started tagging people in it. Hey, Julia Hyams might be able to help. She has her own company, the Hyams Group. People are sharing that information. So find your local Facebook group. And if you've got a Facebook account, post in it yourself and tell your story. Don't just put, I'm in year 12 and I need some work experience and that's it. This girl was, I think, particularly lucky. She could have told more story in here. So tell your story, what you're looking to do, and you're going to get more response from that. So that's the social media stuff done. Now, by the way, in fact, let me just come back to that just for a moment. If you don't have a Facebook account, but then your parents could post this for you. Hey, everybody, you know, my son, my daughter, blah, blah, blah. Again, tell the story. But I think it works better if it's you. So look, we've started off by talking about finding a work experience placement and started off with parents. You know, I think you don't need to do the heavy lifting on this, guys. You're 16, 17 years old. You don't know a ton of people and you don't email a ton of people. So there's no need, you know, there's no need to have all this yourself. Talk to your parents, get them to email people themselves. but also get them to put some posts on social media and then use those community groups. Make sure, I just come down, this is your adult network really here, guys. So all the adults that you know, so you've got your parents at the top there, then you've maybe got teachers. So don't assume that all of your teachers know what you want to do on work experience. Don't assume that at all. And don't, because they're teaching a whole ton of people. So just because your careers teacher or your form tutor knows what you want to do, don't assume your physics teacher, and if you have two teachers for physics, they both know. So make sure that when you have your lesson, that you're able to say, you know, sir, I don't know whether you can help. I'm really looking to find some work experience in this area. I wondered if you might be able to help me. And don't start putting blocks and roadblocks in there to say, oh, no point telling my geography teacher because it's really engineering I'm looking for, because you don't know who your geography teacher knows. Your geography teacher's partner might be an engineer at a top company. You don't know that. So make sure all of your teachers know. They want you to be successful. They want you to go on to great things, onto universities and onto apprenticeships, and they want to be part of that journey. So make sure all of your teachers know. I was at a school a couple of years ago, actually, and a young girl came and spoke to me. And she said, you know, I really want to go into marine biology. It was a school in the Midlands. We couldn't be further from the sea. She said, you know, I really want to go into marine biology, and that's what I want to do with sea stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, well, and I was just about to try and think about how she could do that. And the teacher stood next to me, who wasn't her teacher, form teacher, said, I didn't know you wanted to do that. My daughter has just graduated from Portsmouth University doing marine biology and is now working for a marine biology company. Why don't we get in touch with her and see if we can do anything there? So make sure all your teachers know, all the teachers that know you, make sure they know what you're looking for. Hopefully maybe relatives have been covered off by the social media stuff as well. And if it hasn't, then if you've got if you've got sort of like an event comes up, or if you all belong to the same faith group and go to some faith meetings, once a week, once a month, whatever, then make sure they know, tell them, put a bit of paper out, tell them what they're looking for. Let's talk about your neighbours as well. So if you've lived in the same street for the same road for, I don't know, the last 4 or 5 years at least, it means your neighbours have seen you grow up from being 10 to being 15, 16. That's a big difference. You've really grown up, and they'll see you going to school, they'll see you going out, and they'll be talking to your parents saying, oh gosh, hasn't so-and-so grown? Isn't it lovely to see, blah, blah. Now, all these conversations will be going on and you won't know anything about it. Well, your neighbours can be a great place to help. I'm going to show you somebody in a moment who did that. But what you can do is you could either just put a note through each of your neighbour's door, just a handwritten note, or just print something out on your computer and your laptop, saying, you know, this is Dale from number 22. I just wanted to let you know that I've got to go out on work experience. I'm hoping to go to university or to do an apprenticeship in nuclear energy. I just wanted to see in case you knew anybody that worked in that environment. And I'll show you what happens when that happens. If you play football at the weekend, basketball, belong to an orchestra, if you go to a youth club, a faith group, if you do anything at all where you've got youth leaders looking after you, those people want to see you successful. Make sure your football manager, your basketball manager, your orchestra leader, your scout leader, make sure they know what you're looking to do, because they know people too. And then finally, your friends' parents. I was helping a young lad who came to me and he said, I really only want to work at this one company, Dale. This particular company he wanted to work at was a really big company in his town. And we went on to LinkedIn, which I spoke about earlier. And on LinkedIn, you can see all the people that work there. And it breaks it down into 10 people at a time. The first 10 people came up and he said, there's my friend's dad. I said, oh, great. His friend's dad was a director at the business, massive business. And I said, oh, how well do you know your friend's dad? And he said, well, I go on holiday with them every year and I spend most weekends around there. And it's like, why are you sending your CV in? Give it to your friend's dad. So make sure your friend's parents know. They want you to be successful as well. So let me just come through here and I'll come back to those in a moment. So this is a couple of examples where people have done that. This girl wants to be a midwife. She says, also, I took your advice from the assembly and asked around to see if anyone I know knows midwives. And there's a lady up the street that's a midwife. So hopefully she can provide some insight and help too. Amazing. She asked around, found out there was a midwife at the street. And then this was just recently. Hi, Dale, I was on your webinar yesterday. Just wanted to say a massive thank you for the advice. I'm looking to get into medicine. I've already found work experience at a GP centre by messaging my neighbours. Again, thanks again, Kyan. And I said to him, how did that happen? And he said, oh, I just got, my mum had the phone numbers of my neighbours, so I just WhatsApped them and told them. Turns out one worked in a GP and they've got me that work experience. Phenomenal, because they're connected. There's that emotional connection. Now, let me just come back to here. So when you've got all of these people, these are your adult network. Now, what I would suggest you do is go through that and write them all down. Right, write all the teachers down, all the relatives I've got, if I've got a part-time job, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to get a list of every adult that is part of my life, and then I'm going to identify 4 of them. Who are going to be my agents? Listen, if I'm Ronaldo, I'm not running around ringing football clubs up, seeing who's going to take me. I've got an agent doing that for me. You know, if I'm Eddie Redmayne, if I'm a big film star, I'm not ringing films up and saying, any chance you've got anything for me? I've got an agent doing that for me. You are as important. Get your agent sorted. So find 3 or 4 people from your list of adult network and say to them, I really need an agent. Will you be somebody that helps me find work experience? Will you share my mum's Facebook post? Will you put a Facebook post up or a LinkedIn post up on your own thing? Can you think of anybody that can help me? But will you get behind me? So identify 3 or 4 people that can do that for you. Let's just skip back past these. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Ethan here. Ethan had his work experience placement all sorted out. This is from an Instagram post we shared. He had it all sorted out. He was going to a marketing company. And unfortunately, the week before the event, the work experience was about to take place, they contacted him and said he couldn't come in. There was no opportunity. People were off sick, I think, or they were too busy. They couldn't have him in. So now, a week to go, he's got no work experience available. Now, Ethan's part-time job was working for a company who rent out bouncy castles. So rent out bouncy castles at fairs and birthday parties. He would go along, put those bouncy castles up and make sure nobody banged their heads and take some money if it was at a fete, that sort of thing. So he contacted the company he did the part-time work for and said, look, my marketing work experience is just fallen through. Is there any chance I could come and do your marketing with you for a week? And they were like, great, yeah, that's no problem. So he went along and set up a YouTube channel for them. He got them a whole ton of photos that they got and organized them so that they could use them on Instagram and they could use them on Twitter to get more business. He went onto the Meta Business Suite, the Facebook and Instagram Business Suite, and set up their advertising on there. So, you know, in this case, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So have you got a part-time job that if you can't find a placement, you could say, look, I work here part-time. I can't come on work experience to do that. But could I help with your finance? Could I spend some time in your marketing office, whatever it is that you want to do? So have a think if you can, because you've already got a connection in there. Now, what about if you've done all of those things and you feel like you're getting nowhere? You've got no connections at any of those companies and you're like, right, I need to reach out to some companies. Make your top 10, maybe your top 20 or 30 if you have time. And what you need to do before you send an email to them saying, hey, which would be your automatic response, I'm looking for work experience placement, can you help? What you need to do is make that letter personal to them. So you're going to need one fact. So all to do that, just one fact about them that you can drop in so that they know that that letter is to them, not a letter that you've just sent out to 100 companies. And to do that, just go onto their social media and their website and get some information. Look, here's a company that's local to me. It's called Cosworth Engineering. If I go on their top left-hand corner, I go on their Facebook account, they're sharing stuff about an all-electric 6-wheel drive Hyper GT car. If I'm interested in that, I'm going to maybe talk about that. On the right-hand side, on their Instagram account, they've got a whole bunch of posts there that I can click on. The one in the middle at the top is about a girl doing some engineering. So I can look at that and I can share that in the letter. Bottom right is from their blog on their website. Bottom left is all the videos about apprenticeships on their YouTube channel. So go on the company's website, find out what social media platforms they're in, and then find one thing. You just need one thing to be able to say, oh, I saw this on your Facebook page. That looks amazing. I saw this on your YouTube channel. That looks great. And now we know you're talking to them as a company rather than just a load of engineering companies. Think about what you're bringing to the table. So when you're writing or emailing or messaging through social media, think about what you're bringing. Make sure they get to see your enthusiasm for being in that area, and then think, right, I'm going to make contact. And there's a whole different number of ways that that you can do that. I think it's just, you can do that through social media. You can send them a message on LinkedIn, on Instagram. If they're on TikTok, it's because they want to communicate with young people. So you can communicate through there. You don't have to send an email to do that. But if you do send a message, whether it's like through social media or whether it's an email, I think asking for work experience straight from the beginning. Hey, you don't know me, I don't know you, but I love the way you do this. Can I come and spend a week with you? I think that's a big ask, because there's no other part of our life where we would just go up to people and say, look, you don't know me, but can I come and spend a week with you? Look, I know times are tough. I know you're really busy. I know half your staff aren't in because we're hybrid working, but can I come in for a week? I think that's really easy for people to turn down. So I wouldn't necessarily jump straight in and say, hey, can I come and spend a week with you? I would start my email by saying something like, could you help me with some careers advice? Could I get some careers advice from you? People love it if they can talk about themselves and just chat about themselves. I shared this email yesterday in the personal branding one. I think it's relevant to here as well if we're looking for a work experience placement. I'm currently doing my A-levels. I'm looking to volunteer. I'm volunteering at school. I'm showing you what I've done. I'm looking to work in digital forensics. The bit for me that works on work experience here is that the paragraph down the bottom that says, I was just wondering whether you might be able to spare 15 to 20 minutes over the next couple of weeks to have a chat with me on the phone or on Zoom about the work that you do and the route that you took to get there. I want to connect with you. I want to find out about you. So it's not your company, it's you. And that connection to you, I want to be like you. I want to be where you are. Is a really powerful connection to make. So my advice is to put in the subject line something about, can I get some careers advice? And then to ask to connect, can I find out more about you and your journey and how you got to get there? And can you give me 15 to 20 minutes? As I shared yesterday, the young lad then had this message back 20 minutes after he sent it. Happy to have a brief chat on phone or Zoom. If you're interested, come over to our facility, have a look around. I think you're going to find it more interesting than a phone call. It's going to give you an insight. There then has that connection. We can meet each other. I can meet you. You can meet me. When I meet you as an employer, I can see that you're a normal person. You're going to be great. I can now invite you in for work experience, which is exactly what happened here. So if you get the opportunity to have 15 minutes with somebody, and you can just ask your mum's friends if you can have 15 minutes with you to find out what you do. I think what you've got to do then is you've got to turn up prepared. A professional person has given up their time for you to find out more. So ask them a bunch of questions. I beg your pardon, I'm out of order there. What do you actually do on a day-to-day basis? What do you love about your job? What do you wish you'd known when you started out? How did you get here? All questions about them. Get them talking about themselves. What books and socials and websites would you recommend that I actually do? So if you can go along with a bunch of questions like a reporter with them written down, don't try and remember them. There's no need. It's not a memory test. So write them all down and then just go through. You're going to, first of all, you're going to get a ton of information that's going to be super helpful to you. But the more important thing is you've got them talking about themselves. People love talking about themselves. And now they're going to say to you at the end of it, do you want to come in for a couple of days in the summer and just check that out? Yeah, that's exactly why I'm here. So if you can get 15 minutes with people and then ask them a ton of questions, I think you're going to have more success that way than just saying, hey, can I come and spend a week with you? Because I think that's much easier to turn down. I want to skip back 2 slides to here. If the companies you're applying to are relatively local to you, then handwriting a letter, honestly, handwriting a letter, putting it in a handwritten envelope, and if possible, even hand delivering it, it's going to be super helpful to you, because nobody gets anything that's handwritten. They're going to think you're amazing, even though it's just a handwritten letter. They're going to think you're amazing, and it's going to stand out because it'll be the first thing they open. If there's a pile of post comes in, have a look at this. Thanks for your letter and CV. To receive something handwritten was a nice change. I'd be very happy to have a chat with you. Would you like to pop down to the studio at some point and see the place? So handwritten, if it's local, is going to be handwritten, hand delivered, handwritten envelope. It's going to be super helpful for you. If you get to have a meeting, the very last question I would ask anybody is, who else do you think I should be talking to? So that would be the last question I'd be asking. If you were me, who else would I be talking to? Because they're then going to say, well, if I was you, I'd be wanting to talk to somebody who does maybe mechanical engineering on a different type. So have you contacted such and such? Oh, no, I haven't. Do you know anybody at that company? No. Would you like me to introduce you? Bang, of course I would. So who else should I talk to? And then they'll take the lead from there. Now, when you've done your work experience, this is important. You've got to say thank you, and you've got to pay it forward for the next people following on behind you, because companies, and I said to you at the beginning, companies aren't doing work experience for free labor. This is hard work taking somebody on. So thank them. Taking a box of chocolates on the last day with a card. And if you're on LinkedIn, then put a post on there and thanking them and tagging in the people that helped, as Alex has done here. Ideally, get a photo of you at your work experience and give it to your school so that your school can share it on their LinkedIn and their social media platform and thank that business. But make sure you say thank you. And if you're on LinkedIn, make sure you pop it on there. And just some advice, it can be really difficult. You go on your work experience in the summer, you've then got to write your UCAS personal statement in September and October. Try to remember everything you did. It's not a memory test. Don't try and remember. Just get your phone out after your work experience day, press voice record, and just leave yourself a message. What you did that day, what tools you used, what equipment you used, what software you used. And then you're not going to remember anything. And then when you write your personal statement or your CV, when you're responding to things in your cover letter, end of every day, you can just go back to your voice notes to remember what you did. So, looking for a work experience placement, be clear about what you want to do, where you can get to, research the company, make sure you know stuff about them, and then use your network to do that reaching out on your behalf to begin with. There's no need for you to start as a starting point, just to write to people that have never heard from you, when you might find within your network of people, and there's already people that are there that can help you. And then when you go on your work experience, prepare for it. What do I want to achieve? What do I want to be different in a week's time? How is what preparation going to make that happen? Do this now. Make sure that people know what you're looking for. Ask your network for help. Guys, I hope you found that helpful. I hope there's something in there that can help you find a work experience placement. Work experience can change your life. And remember, you don't just have to do it when the school say or the college say you can do it. You've got a ton of holidays that you can go out for a day. It doesn't have to be a week. Go and get as much confidence in that workspace as you can. If you found that presentation helpful, jump onto our Instagram account, My Great First Job, or on Facebook, or on TikTok, or on LinkedIn. Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to hand back to